They're just your average, everyday college students. Not. In this special holiday episode of Poll Hub, a little insight into our academic endeavors.
We sit down with Marist Poll super students Amelia Morel and Alexandria Watts. This dynamic duo played an integral role in the Marist Poll's election night analysis, all part of a new initiative at the Marist Poll. Let's get started. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Poll Hub. I'm Lee Miringoff, director of the Marist College Institute for Public Opinion, and joining us today is Mary Griffith, who in her full-time job is Director of Media Initiatives and Poll News at the Marist Poll. She also quarterbacks our new academic initiative, the Newsfeed. Mary, hi.
Hi, Lee. Thanks for having me on the other side of the microphone today. You let me out, and I appreciate it.
Well, that's good. Every now and then we try to, give a new star can be born, and you have to fill the shoes of Jay DeDapper and Barbara Carvalho. That's no small order.
Pretty big shoes to fill.
Okay.
Well, Lee, you know this, but our audience may not, that we have more than 300 Marist College students working with us on any given semester. And today we're very lucky to have joining us two of our super students, Amelia Morel, class of 2021, and Alexandria Watts, class of 2020. Welcome, ladies.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Okay. So, Alexandria, let's start with you.
Okay.
You were down at WCBS election night. Midterm elections, in a sentence or five, what were your impressions of the night?
Well, I had an absolute blast throughout the night. I helped out with our social media, so I was sending out tweets. I was taking pictures of Lee and Steve in the studio, just helping out in any way I can in terms of the digital side and the social media side. And it was just really fun to be there, watching them tape the live show and seeing all the results come in and comparing them and trying to figure out if our numbers match to their numbers and just seeing all these the magic happening and everything kind of coming together. It was just such a great experience. I love the fast pace of it all. And yeah, it was just a really, really great time.
And Amelia, you had a little bit of a different assignment on election night. Tell us about that.
So I had a really great experience at WCBS Radio. It was really cool watching all the results come in and seeing the different races getting called. I had different assignments of keeping track of all of the races that came in and who won, whether it was the Democrat or Republican, and also giving directions to Lee for what to say on the radio.
Yeah, one of the things I find really great about election night is when we're doing a news program, we don't know at the start what the story's going to be. So at what point did you start to get a feel in the evening that this was going to be sort of a good night for the Democrats, but not an enormously good night? At what point did you, Amelia, why don't you jump in?
Well, in the House, it seemed to be pretty early on that it looked like the Democrats were doing well, but then the Senate started not looking so well once Joe Donnelly lost Indiana and then Claire McCaskill lost Missouri. So after those two were gone, it was kind of they don't seem to have a chance anymore in the Senate. But it was early on that we could see in the House that they were going to pick up quite a few seats.
Mm-hmm.
She took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah, and it was really interesting just sitting there as all the results came in. Obviously, as we saw at the beginning of the night, there was a big rush, a lot more results coming in. But then it was kind of getting interesting towards the end of the night because then we would see a lot less results happening. There was a lot of too close to call races, and those were kind of interesting to monitor and keep your eyes on because it's okay, when are they going to announce it? When's it going to happen? Now some of those states have recounts, so that's always fun. But at the same time, it was just really interesting being in that room and watching everything come in all at once, and then we see a shift. Okay, now we're waiting for things. These are our tighter races. Now we have to keep a close eye on these. And it just made for a very interesting night.
Okay, so it's pretty clear that you guys have an interest and a knowledge in politics. How did you come to work with us here at the Marist Poll?
Well, my freshman year, I got a little postcard in the mail that asked if you wanted to be interested in or I should say, if you are interested, you should come be a interviewer here at the Marist Poll. So we have students, obviously, who come in, and they will help us do our surveys, and they'll get on the phone with people. It's a cold call. The number was randomly generated by the computer, and then the students hand dial it, all that fun stuff. So that's how I first started here. And then this year is my first semester as a coach, meaning I get to make sure kind of everyone's on track, helping students, recognize if they did anything wrong and just encouraging them whenever they do things right and when the surveys go really well. And then this year, I also became involved with our media unit, which has been super exciting. I've done a lot of research. I have done, obviously, things like this. I've done a lot of social media work. I created some graphics for us as well. The graphic that we used on election night.
The election night one,
yes, that was me. And yeah, it's just been, I've worn a lot of hats here, and I can definitely say it's been a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, great. And tell us a little bit about how I know your father, who's our number one fan.
Yes.
John. Okay. He said, you go to Marist, you do the Marist poll, or I'm not paying for tuition.
That's basically what he said when I got accepted. I think it was on Accepted Students Day when I came here.
Okay.
My parents were like pushing me to look at the Marist poll. And then basically once I started in school in September, I looked out to figure out when the first training session was. So I started last September, and now this year being an interviewer was really fun. It was interesting being on that side. Now I'm a head coach this semester, so I'm helping all the other interviewers and coaches.
And do you supervise, give feedback? Is that part of it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And yes, giving feedback to the coaches and also the interviewers, and just helping with other administrative stuff during the day. And now I'm also a part of the media team as well, so we do things from social media creation, podcast ideas, and leading up to the midterms was a lot of election research, so that was all really fun. So it's been a great experience working here.
Now, Mary, you quarterback the newsfeed, and both have talked about that. Maybe you could sort of talk a little bit about what the overall goals are of the newsfeed. It's a new thing. We haven't done this. You are the guinea pigs. This is our inaugural semester. So what are the goals? And aside from these brilliant super students, how's it working?
Well, as you mentioned, Lee, this is a brand new initiative for the Marist Poll. It is our Marist Poll Newsfeed. And of course, over the 4 decades of the Marist Poll's history, we have the tradition of moving beyond chalk and talk inside the classroom. And so we bring education outside of the confines of a traditional classroom experience and bring students into what we do here at the Marist Poll. Obviously, we have our student interviewers in the phoning center, but we want to take the students out of the phoning center. We want to take a certain group of students, Amelia and Alexandria being among our inaugural students, and we want to teach them about data analysis, and not just about the data analysis, but how we communicate the narrative, the story behind the numbers, whether it be visually, using text. We teach our students the appropriate ways to communicate via different modes, whether it be verbal interviews, writing assignments, social media. And so these students are, as you mentioned, our guinea pigs. They're getting their feet wet. They're helping us learn what works and what doesn't work. And of course, with Jay DeDapper, our wonderful director of innovation here at the Marist Poll, who has been putting together some systems and putting in place some systems that the students will learn and use in the real world after graduation.
Yeah, and I'm actually looking forward to, because it's been a really hectic semester, looking forward to kind of like evaluating and towards the end of the semester getting some feedback from the students on just how this went and what we can be doing next semester. I assume you're not retiring, you're coming back again?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, no, we're just getting started.
But I know you're heading down to
I'll
D.C.
be in Washington next semester, but I'm hoping I could do some stuff maybe remotely.
Okay, great. Well, why don't you hum a few bars on what the D.C. experience, what you're going to be doing?
So I will be at American University taking classes there regarding journalism and global communications, and also politics in Washington. And I will be doing an internship also in Washington, D.C., somewhere in the journalism media field, hopefully.
And Alexandria, you are very much involved in the Marist student paper.
I am. Yes, I am our paper's news editor.
Yeah. And this is coming as a big surprise to our audience that these people are so connected to everything going on, Marist Poll and related.
They're ringers.
They're ringers. Yes, they're ringers. Tell us a little bit about what you're looking to do down the road and the experience at the Circle and what you're doing with social media here and how that might become something in the future for you.
Yeah, sure. So I'm very interested in going into news, I would say. I don't know if I would love to do writing. Obviously, writing is my passion. I love journalism. I love just getting up and doing interviews with people on campus, whether they be student, faculty. but I don't know if I would like to do that so for the rest of my life. So I was thinking more the behind the scenes workings of news. So like I had an internship over the summer in social media. I absolutely loved it. And I'm kind of looking also into things like product development, audience development, just things like that are more like the behind the scenes working of how to bring news.
You were down with me, I think, when we did the MSNBC Meet the Press interview with Chuck Todd.
I was, yes.
Okay, so there I was. I got made up. I did all the things. We saw people. Tell a little bit about that experience. That was a good behind the scenes look.
Absolutely, yeah. So we went down to Manhattan that day, and we went to the MSNBC studio. Went with Lee in the chair, and not in the chair.
Somewhere that didn't sound right. No. The chair wasn't called Old Sparky by any chance.
I think what Alexandria is saying is, she was trying to push you out and have her shot in the spotlight.
Oh, okay. Surprise, surprise.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, so we went down to MSNBC, and I went with you to the dressing room, and we, had a last conversation with someone from MSNBC who we're very close with. And yeah, like I just had to help.
Oh, that was Mark Murray in the green room.
That was him. Yep. And yeah, I got to watch you as you did a little segment with Chuck Todd and his show, and that was really interesting too because we were seeing Chuck also do another segment while you were kind of behind the scenes, or we were behind the scenes just watching, and it was very interesting because you see all like the production people just moving around. How do you make a news show function like on a day-to-day basis? So that was also very.
Yeah. And Chuck and I were at the big board, and he was.
Yep, you were at the big board.
I really got to admire him. That is not the easiest thing to do. And if your cufflink hits it, it'll freeze it up. And I just thought that was really good. But that is not the highlight of that trip to New York.
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay, the highlight was?
So Lee took me into the SNL studios. We were able to get in there as no one was in there rehearsing or anything like that. So I got to stand on the SNL stage.
Right where every major comic.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a very humbling experience just to be in that studio, on that stage. We also went in and we saw Lester Holt preparing for his show as well. Like, we snuck into his studio, saw him there.
You are so lucky, Lee. Security did not come and boot you out.
It's fun to get lost in that building. I mean, it really is, as I try to do every time I'm there. But the other thing I was just thinking of is both of you have been in a lot of classes, Mary and I do, and you've met a lot of folks who come up to Marist. Talk a little bit about how that works into your educational experience, some of the folks you've had a chance to meet, the journals.
So last semester I participated in the 1968 class, which was definitely my favorite class so far at Marist, as we got to meet a lot of different journalists, Bob Herbert, Jeff Greenfield, and they each had different things to bring to the table about that year in 1968. And it was just a really great experience hearing how they got started in the journalism profession and what tips they had for me. So I definitely learned a lot from each person, and getting to talk to them about how they got started was really great.
Yeah, I've taken a lot of journalism classes here, so obviously enhancing writing skills, things like that. I feel as though writing can be applied to any job, any situation, and obviously writing is my passion, so I've learned a lot from the Marist Communications Department here, especially in terms of writing, social media, how do you curate content, how do you get people to engage with your content, things like that. But the journalism department's definitely amazing because they have you do situations where like you run a news blog with the class, and for that class in particular, I'm running their Instagram account as a project, and just how do you bring news to a newer audience? And that's something I'm very passionate about in terms of combining that traditional old news of print and writing and combining it now to the online world and what's eventually going to take over our lives in a sense.
I'm curious, Amelia, we're coming to the end of the semester. You're going to be changing over into new courses in January. My question for you is, what have you taken away from this experience, working with the news feed, that perhaps you couldn't have gotten from a class experience?
Definitely the hands-on opportunities that I've had of doing election research and creating tweets, creating Facebook posts, taking the Marist poll results from different surveys that we've done and creating tweets from that. That's provided me with a great opportunity to actually take what I've learned in the classroom about media and apply it to something in real life. So that'll definitely help me for whatever internship I decide to do in DC.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. yeah, just it's a lot of building upon the classroom, like what we learn in class, and now you're applying it in real life, especially if you take, like I've taken social media classes, and now I'm finding those practices I used in class and I'm applying them to our team here. And it's a really humbling experience because I get to work with you guys, which is amazing, and it's a lot of real world experience applications, and it's just been really great. This is an amazing team, and I really enjoy working with everyone here, but at the same time, too, I'm learning a lot in terms of social media and who our audiences.
I'm curious, so election night, you got to see, I mean, we're teachers, we're mentors, we're all that, we're great people, as you correctly identified. But election night, we're also, on the line. So Barbara Carvalho, Mary Griffith, and myself, I mean, we were sort of, doing our thing, too, strutting the stuff, as it were. So how did that all strike you? Because now your teachers and your mentors are now sort of also in the action. So did you guys react to just how hysterical we were?
Well, it was cool watching you in action, especially when we got to go and watch you on the radio live. It was interesting to watch how you answered the questions from them and reporting the results. It was just interesting to be there and see you not only as my professor, but also as like someone on the radio, too.
This is one of the most self-serving questions I've ever asked. Amelia, well, now you're, Alexandria, I'm looking at you and saying her name. Alexandria. So what was your takeaway from that?
Definitely adding on with Amelia. It was very inspiring, though, just to see you guys like doing things outside of the office or outside of the classroom, and this is the real world. Like, as she said, we were watching you in the studio and doing the interview with Steve and just giving like all this information and everything. It was just so inspiring to watch you in action, and it's really, it was just such a great experience.
I love it, and I take some pictures. I love it.
Vice President and President of the Lee Miringoff Fan Club.
Yeah, no, I included you in the introduction. So, co-presidents. Did you hear co-presidents?
You're so diplomatic.
So Mary, are all of our newsfeed students like this, or are all the students at the Marist Poll like this? Or,
absolutely.
Absolutely. Just they're all perfect. That's really good. That's really good. I'm happy about that. Anything else you guys want to throw in to the end? Anything for Dad?
Well, shout out to John Morel. Thank you for sending me to Marist and introducing me to the Marist Poll. We're hoping we can have you on the show too someday.
I think that would be he is our number one fan. All kidding aside, and I didn't know that he was your father until I looked at his tweet and his feed, and there your picture was there. So the whole thing was just bizarre.
Alexandria, your last words.
Hi, Mom and Dad. And it's just great to be in the room where it happens.
Well, on this Thanksgiving week episode, we are certainly very thankful and very grateful to have you both working here with us, and thank you for joining us today.
Yes, of course, thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Well, before we go today, we do want to share with you some of our favorite Thanksgiving traditions. Now, back in 2010, we haven't asked this question in a while. We asked Americans, what do you most look forward to on Thanksgiving? And 84% said spending time with family and friends.
It's like a Hallmark card. Oh, by the way.
Oh, look who's
I'm
back.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's Jay DeDapper.
And Barbara
Carvalho is
too.
also
Wow.
here.
How are you?
Wow.
We put down our turkey drumsticks to come in and do this Thanksgiving episode.
So Jay?
that is a very Hallmarky card kind of thing to be with family. If I don't say that, I look like a real heel, to talk in old-fashioned terms. But I love food. I'm a foodie for all the good and the bad that entails. And I've always looked forward to Thanksgiving to creating something new, a couple of different new things, and then the people that are there to enjoy it. My favorite Thanksgivings were when I was in TV as a reporter and I had to work Thanksgiving, or even when I didn't, and you'd have the people who were working, as reporters that day, and you'd have them coming in throughout the day. So when I was at Eyewitness News, I worked the parade in the morning. I'd come home, we'd have 2 turkeys in the oven, and we would have reporters and photographers coming by until like midnight. It was the Thanksgiving that never ended. I did not work on Black Friday in those days.
You almost are still serving.
Well, Thanksgiving is definitely one of my favorite holidays because it's about food, football, family, and friends, and just kind of hanging out. It's just it's a very enjoyable day. It's often very relaxing. Although I think you said 84% said they wanted and to spend time with family and friends. And maybe it's good that we said family and friends, so that we made sure that the family part.
Four-legged friends.
And
too.
also just
Yeah,
made
that's
sure that
true.
the family suggested that they were friends, because I wonder, we haven't asked it in a while, and I know that Thanksgiving does raise a lot of anxiety nowadays for families, particularly those that are not on the same side of the political aisle. Politics and religion always used to be conversations that we really weren't supposed to have, around the Thanksgiving table, and I think perhaps even more so. So this might be something interesting for us to look into in the future.
No, I do not have a large family. I do not have many friends. However,
Oh,
Well, the fan
Lee.
club was just here. Maybe they'll stick
that's right.
around.
What are you guys doing? But I like going to the Washington Inn in Cape May, New Jersey, with family and friends. And we do have a great time, and it's a wonderful meal. The only problem is when you're in Cape May, New Jersey, there's a lot of Philadelphia Eagle fans, and they don't like Giant fans. Not that we have anything to talk about this year. Mary, how many people are going to be at Griffith Land?
Well, I do have a very large extended family, but this year we're going to my brother's house, and it's a little bit of a smaller crowd. But my favorite part of the holiday, especially since I've had children, is seeing the holiday through their eyes, especially watching the Thanksgiving Day parade with them and seeing the joy and the enthusiasm, and just the imagination come out in them as they watch the floats and the balloons go down the avenue, and that's really something very special in our household.
Have you
Now,
taken it to it live yet? To the
Not yet.
But have you gone the night before?
I have not gone the night before. We're thinking about that this year. It may not happen this year, but probably in
That's
the
when
next
they-
Yeah, because
couple
on
of
the
That's
years.
where they
west,
blow up all
on
the
the west
balloons.
side of Manhattan, it's I think in the 70s, around 77th and Central Park West.
It's around the museum,
They
the Natural History Museum.
yep, they blow up the balloons and the floats, and it's quite a significant festival and very fun festival.
So that's on the list before the kids get too old. But we just all hear from all
Oh,
of us
you're
here.
never too old. You're never too old to see the balloons
So
blown
next
up.
Thanksgiving, we can
floats.
poll the kids and ask them what was their favorite float.
My
Balloon.
kids?
Yeah, your kids.
No,
The
no,
balloon.
no, no,
We're not polling.
You'll get an earful.
That does it for this edition of Poll Hub.
The Thanksgiving edition.
Poll Hub is a production of Marist Poll at Marist College.
And I'm Mary Griffith, the executive producer of Poll Hub.
Yay!
And normally
Thank you.
behind the mics and out in public this time.
That's how we like it. It's good after all these episodes, we finally got you to say your own name. And who edits this, and who did you get to edit this, Mary?
Kenny Marple is our wonderful editor, and hopefully he'll be able to clean some of this up.
Okay, so we'd also like to thank, as we always do, the Roper Center Archive at Cornell University, who provides us with the ability to look back in time at survey questions and results over the decades.
And nice to have everybody in Washington for the annual dinner and board meeting this week.
And if you've got questions for us, we may have answers for you. The best way to reach us is on social media. We're at Marist Poll on Facebook, Marist Poll on Twitter. And as you heard during this Thanksgiving episode, we've got lots of students that help us monitor Twitter and Facebook. So give them something to do. Well, and be nice about it. That would be good, too. After all, it's Thanksgiving week, everybody.
Yes, pass the cranberry sauce.
If I had some, I would.